you've also talked about escrow fees and even actually unrelated to your statements. Just within the last week, I had lunch with a very well-placed person in Yorktown, a very influential individual. And in terms of the town's position, let's say, or recent and long-term track record on supporting business development and facilitating business development, this person said to me, he said, your news organization, by which he meant PennySaver Community, needs to look into developer fees, and this person's clear indication was that there is a really widespread abuse within Town Hall on forcing people who come forth with business proposals to pay these developer fees, and they're not even sure what they're paying them for.
Well, this is you touch up what I find particularly disturbing, and actually very telling of the culture of the town, which I think is entrenched and needs to be changed. And I think this is probably this issue is probably pinpoints it the best. And what do I mean? The town has these escrow accounts whereby an applicant before the town deposits money with the town, so the town can then go out and hire its own consultants in order to act adversarial to the applicant that's in front of it.
So when you're saying adversarial, are you saying the town's default position is we don't want to grant you your business proposal? Or
no, by adversarial I mean the purpose of the consultant that the town hires is to look at the applicant's application in terms of the legal issues, engineering issues, and maybe environmental issues. An applicant before the town is going to have hired their own lawyer, maybe, and certainly their own engineer, who's a professional licensed engineer that has to stamp all the plans, and in terms of any type of environmental consultants, licensed environmental consultants. The town, in reviewing that application against its own regulations, asks the applicant to establish an escrow fund so they can spin it out to an expert of their choice to review the plans. And the problem that you have with this is that the expert is the town's consultants are picked by the town, and as far as what they charge, how much they charge, what the extent of the review is all up to the consultant that the town has picked. But the town's not paying for that consultant, the applicant's paying for that consultant. In other words, the town picks the consultant and the applicant has to pay for the consultant to review the applicant's file. Now that consultant may agree fully with the applicant, but may not. But that consultant can also create issues or raise issues, and for every issue it raises, that consultant is now being paid by the applicant. There's a huge conflict of interest that's created by these escrow funds and the town selecting who it wants to review it from the town's point of view. As for instance, you have this recent auditor's report, which talks about possible conflicts of interest of certain business getting contracts from the town that weren't bid, et cetera, et cetera. Here you have the town almost codifying what is a scheme of conflict of interest. The town handpicks an expert, which it says, look, you're going to be our expert, you're going to review our files. And when the applicant comes in, the applicant doesn't have any say in it. He's got to pay you what you ask him to pay you, and we're going to enforce it because we're not going to issue the CO, we're not going to issue the building permit, we're not going to issue the approval until he pays your fee. The applicant has no privy of contract with that expert. It's the town's expert, and and then when it comes to the point of time of maybe the applicant looking to grieve or the fee that's being charged by the outside consultant hired by the town, the person that arbitrates that grievance is the approving agency, which has hired the expert, and which is the expert that the town uses time and time again. It is just it not only gives off an appearance of impropriety, but it's a fertile ground for all sorts of improprieties. And the town doesn't gain anything by it. It's not as if the money is going to go to the town to offset an expense of the town. It doesn't. It just goes to the hand-picked consultant that the town has picked.
So the question there, one of the questions with what you're saying is, why does the town do this? If it's not benefiting from it, and you're saying the money goes right through to the independent contractor, which could be an attorney, such as yourself, right?
Right.
I mean, so why would the town continue this kind of a practice, in your view?
I have the slightest idea. It's uncanny. I think it's complete not a business killer. If the town thinks that it's deferring costs that it otherwise would incur, that's not true. And the bottom line, it's even more fundamental than that. It becomes a real issue of your constitutionally protected rights to use your property. I think it is a burden on anyone trying to do anything in the town. If you're a small business owner, a small property owner, you have you're faced with some open-ended fee. You don't know how much it's going to be or how much what they're going to charge, and then you have no choice but to pay it. And as for an example, a good example was the Stone Church, it was DeChiaro's church on the Route 6. He came in for a special use permit.
And we're talking about the winery.
Winery, yes. And a special use permit is basically if you're allowed to put the property to that use so long as you meet the requirements of the code. It's a use you can do as a matter of right, and that's the entire an application before the zoning board appeals on a special use permit is just, do I meet the requirements of the code? If I meet the requirements of the code legally, the zoning board of appeals has no choice but to issue the permit. That is the whole legal issue. And that's it in a nutshell. I think Mr. DeChiaro was charged almost $9,000 in legal fees by the town in order to process his special use permit. It's chilling. It's chilling on businesses. And $9,000 is not chump change. Not when you're running a business. It could be not when you're paying the real estate tax that's involved in the town of Yorktown, not when you're paying your Con Ed bill, not when you're paying your utility bills, not when you're paying et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the problem is that the town is insensitive to the financial burdens faced by small businesses. And if you're going to put that kind of financial burden on small businesses, you're not going to get anybody that's going to want to develop or redevelop their property. Why would I want to redevelop my property? Why would I want to make a site plan change if I know it's going to cost me money in terms of hiring my own consultants, but now it's not only do I have the expense of hiring my own consultants, but now I have to hire the town's consultants as well. So it's doubles the cost. So you're not going to and then face the uncertainty of whether you're approved or not approved. And then at the end of the day, not get your CO or your building permit until you pay the hand-picked consultant of the town's fees. And there's a huge conflict of interest there where the town has hand-picked their consultant and is forcing the applicant to pay that consultant's fee. So you have let's say an engineer, a law firm, or whatever. The town approaches them and says, look, you're going to be my law firm, my consulting engineer, my consulting environmentalist, and what I'm going to do for you is that every applicant that becomes before me is going to have to pay a fee to you for you to review all the files and review all the applications. So it's a huge boon to the business of the engineer, environmental consultant, or law firm. That is handpicked by the town or the board because it's an endless stream of business running from going from the applicants to this outside consultant. And the town, as far as I know, is hopefully not taking any fee, because that would be a kickback from me. So,
Right, yes, right.
So, I mean, it's wrought with problems, and why are they doing this? I have the slightest idea.